Absolutely. And so what we need to do is we need to have leaders like President Trump, like Elon Musk, like Robert Kennedy Jr. We have to have these people because they're disruptors. And disruptors change.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Facts Over Feelings, and we're here at Turning Point USA, still America Fest, Day 3, and I'm really excited about this guest. He is a fellow patriot that's truly serving his country. We have Mr. Jeff Zink. Jeff is a dedicated advocate of faith, family, and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. A devoted leader in the Congressional District 3, Jeff and his wife are active members of their community, working tirelessly to ensure safe neighborhoods, robust local economies, and good-paying jobs. He's guided by the belief of the power of connection in communities. Jeff is passionate about fostering cooperation to improve the lives of families and uphold the values that make America strong, and it's going to make us greater than we have ever been. Jeff, welcome to the show, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure
Thank
to
you
have
so
you
much
on.
for having me.
Yeah, where I'd like to start off is tell us a little bit more about your background and your American dream story.
Oh, absolutely. So one of the things is that growing up in the Texas Panhandle at a public school, and then going on to Texas Tech, where I got to play football there, and then moving on to the United States Sports Academy in sports medicine, exercise physiology, and able to do my dream, which is take care of athletes, take care of people who are injured and sick.
You know, how do we change? Because really, at the end of the day, what they've done is they've taken our justice system, which has been a staple in America, the pursuit of truth, and they've perverted it. And how do we get it back? And how do we make sure we don't go back after 4 more years and maybe Trump's out of office?
Well, that's the beauty of our country. Ronald Reagan said it best. We're only one generation from losing this country.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that.
And the thing is that we are supposed, there's a reason why it was structured the way it was. Our president is for 4 years. Our George Washington established that it was a 2-term deal. We've only had one other time that happened. It was during World War II when Franklin D. Roosevelt served 3 terms, was elected 3 terms, but he died in the 3rd term. So it's not a really good idea of that 3rd term. But the thing is that we, the people, are supposed to be in charge.
Absolutely.
Not the elected people.
Yeah, we don't work for them. They work for us. And I think somewhere along the way, people forgot about that, or they distorted history. And that's why you see them trying to remove a lot of history out of the schools, because they're trying to create a different America. And a lot of people just don't realize that.
Exactly. And the thing is that, you know, a person who doesn't know history is doomed to repeat it. But those that are erasing history is so they can repeat it. And what we need to do is we need to make sure to go after those that are trying to erase history and try them for treason. So we have Nancy Pelosi and all of them. They're going to have to be tried. We're going to have to hold these people accountable so that everybody sits back and goes, you know what? If I do this, it may actually cost me my life. Right now, what consequences has a rhino or a Democrat suffered?
Oh, there isn't any. It's almost like they have this bestowed authority way above and beyond their power. They're sure as heck not working for the American people anymore. They're working for the oligarchs. They're working for the elite. They're working for the special interest groups, and they're working for themselves, quite frankly. It's like the second they get into office, they're selling out their country.
Absolutely. And so what we need to do is we need to have leaders like President Trump, like Elon Musk, like Robert Kennedy Jr. We have to have these people because they're disruptors. And disruptors change the flow of the way things are going so that we don't always get into that deal which says, well, we've always done it this way. If you've always done it this way, And it's the definition of insanity. You keep doing
the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Exactly.
And I agree. I think we got to do something differently. And you think about it, the incentivization in this country, it is corruption. So first and foremost, I think there's got to be accountability. If you set a line in the sand that there's going to be accountability and this is going to be the dire consequence if this happens again, well, you're going to help mitigate that. But I also think, it's time for a different kind of change too. When you look at it from a monetary perspective, so many people coming in there with $100,000 a year salary with no business, no generational wealth that are leaving office with a $50 million net worth, a $20 million net worth, a $100 million net worth. Well, explain to me how that happened outside of corruption. So the incentivization is corruption and selling out of our country. So the question is, could we flip the script on that? Because I would be okay as an American citizen if our president could make 10 million, 50 million, same like an Amazon CEO, all based off the KPIs of the prosperity of the American people. You get homelessness in line, instead of having a deficit, you end the year with a surplus and you start stacking a surplus and you start making the lives of the American people better. I'd be okay with paying you with that kind of money. And imagine if we could create an ecosystem that we could have that sort of incentive structure in place, that the only incentive, the only path is to serve the American people like they've never been served before. And then you can walk out, a rich man or woman. I'd be okay with that in our country.
But you got to have fun with this.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
Can't and the thing is that the left doesn't have a sense of humor.
No, they don't. Yeah.
They don't get it.
So I said the humor, I find humor and parody is a great butter knife to kind of cut through the noise too. And I honestly think that was probably one of the things that helped save free speech, because they didn't know how to attack it when it was satire. They didn't know how to attack it when it was parody. And a lot of these up and coming, Babylon Bee, a lot of these big companies started coming out there and really spreading their narrative and spreading the word that I think, helped open up people's eyes and, change the narrative that was up. I think a lot of it stemmed for too. If you think about Trump, he was the first time in a long time that he came in and they had somebody that they couldn't control. And he uncovered the corruption in not just our politics, but in the media, in corporate America. And he was legitimately a threat for taking out the Democratic Party, which, oh, by the way, was not the Democratic Party of old. They went to this radical left-wing ideology that he shined a bright light on. And I think what happened there is once they got him out of office there through a fair election, they tried to go for a kill shot for the Republican Party, because they knew that's what they needed to do to gain the overall control. But luckily, with God's grace, they failed. So I'd be curious, your take, how do we get back to a normal two-party system again, given that the Democratic Party really just doesn't exist, and we're dismantling this radical left-wing thing that it's became, but how do we get back to that normal cycle, that healthy,
right,
Democrat and Republican Party again?
One of the things is that, again, our founding fathers said that if we ever go to a two-party system, our country will go into corruption.
Yep.
We need to do away with this. We need to have where a person that doesn't have a side, okay, because you can pit enemies against that. If you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, we have to be enemies. If you are a female and I'm a male, we're enemies. If you're young and I'm old, we're enemies. So they try to divide that. If we just run and
it's like they took the Marxist playbook that they normally did on racial ideologies, and they learned that, hey, we can do this on the LGBTQ, we can do this on gender, we can do this on religion, and they literally magnified that playbook in every little micro category that they could to try to divide and conquer our nation.
Absolutely.
Well, and here's the thing, at the end of the day, God made us to be creators, and I think people think that because you create something, you create wealth for yourself, I create wealth for myself, that we're taking it away from somebody else, which is a fallacy, and that's not reality.
That's not reality.
Right? I think everybody's got the possibility to be their own true creator out there, and I think that's really what we got to get back to in America. I mean, that's what we are founded upon, the American dream. And I like to use this analogy. When they try to go after unreasonable tax rates, it's like, imagine you got a group of 4 guys that are going out to the bar, they're going out to eat every single day for lunch, and amongst that group, there's a kind gentleman that's financially well off, that every single time he pays for everybody's drinks and pays for everybody's meals. And that turns into an entitlement and an expectation
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see 3 weeks down the road, or maybe a few months down the road, they start ordering not burgers, but they start ordering steak dinner. They start ordering a lobster. They start getting more drinks. They start inviting some of their friends over and taking advantage of the situation. What happens when that fourth guy stops showing up?
Right.
And everybody's at the party. Now nobody eats anymore. Nobody gets their drinks anymore. And, you know, that's kind of the same situation in America. Eventually, you're going to tax people so far that you're going to tax them out of the country, and they're going to stop showing up. And then what happens? You know, we're going to look like a Venezuela, and that was really the road that they were taking us down until, you know, we flipped the script on November 6th.
Absolutely. So what's really interesting is that now we have a lot of information coming out about J6.
Yep.
2025.
Yep.
And how they are going to, the Democrats are now going to have their own insurrection, and they're going to do that. And I'm like going, okay, if you do that, just be ready to go to prison and be treated, you know, badly and everything else, because that's what's supposed to happen, correct?
Oh, absolutely, right? Yeah.
So
flip the script in the same direction.
You know, the thing is that our Constitution says that we should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, your happiness may be different than mine. That's the reason why it's put in. You have the right to go and do what you think is fun. I may not think that climbing Mount Everest is fun. You think it's a blast and want to do it. But that's the beauty of being an American. We can do whatever we want. And so that's the opportunity that we have. So, you know, the thing is that if y'all haven't, I know this is a new podcast, that this is brand new. But as it continues, people need to support this. They need to go out and make sure that podcasts like this, because you get the truth. The mainstream media, do you think that Fox News or MSNBC and all these other...
they're all in the same basket. I mean, they lost their journalistic integrity a long time ago.
So they're not going to interview somebody like myself that's going to come in and tell the truth and say, here's what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Now you get to make a decision whether you want to do that, because you're an intelligent individual. The government says that you're an idiot. We need to make decisions for you.
Yep.
How arrogant is that?
Right. No, I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's batting 1,000 at this point, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's why I love the shirt. It says, I'm tired of all the conspiracy theories because all mine came true. I need new ones. So we have to sit down and we have to have common sense, which is not common in Washington, D.C.
It's not common anywhere anymore.
Right. So we got to sit down and do that. But, I really appreciate and people, I'm serious. You got to start supporting podcasts like this.
One of the questions, before we ask the final question that we always ask in the show, if you had presidential power one time, executive authority to wave that magic pen to shift and shape the landscape in America in any way that you could, as your lasting legacy long after you're gone, what would that one thing be you would use that pen stroke for?
Strip the presidency of the executive powers. The president should have to go before the Congress like everybody else to make sure that laws are being made. That's what our founding fathers put in place. The only reason why George Washington did executive orders was because he was trying to get people paid for a war we just fought that the Congress didn't have any money to pay them. So he had to institute so that they got paid, and then the merchants that donated money to our people that were fighting the war, so that they got reimbursed. And that's what he was using it for, was to try to help people out that help the cause. That's what it should be.
And I guess last but not least, what does facts over feelings mean to you?
Facts is that we need to not have a safe space. I jokingly stated before we got started, where's my safe space? It's not about your feelings. It's about the facts that goes on. And here's the other thing. My liberties do not end when it starts to hurt your feelings.
Absolutely.
So so we need to sit down and
that's why I
start
think
having
the
a
mentality
tough
that's
love.
bred such a weak society that we have today. And once we get out of our feelings and we get back to the facts, I think that's where we're going to see America greater than it's ever been. But it's been an absolute pleasure
Hey,
to
I
have it on the show
appreciate it.
today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Facts Over Feelings, coming at you live at Turning Point USA America Fest, where we have 20,000 patriots just like this guy that are going out there doing your part. And the good news is you can do your part too, not just to make America great, but to keep it that way for decades to come.